Hey kiddies, it's Terrible Triple feature time once again. Hope everybody had a pleasant Easter and or Passover or whatever religious holiday you celebrated. And if not, if you did not celebrate any religious holiday, you just missed out. I'm gonna warn you, recording this one pretty late at night after a long drive. So who knows just what kind of rambling I'm going to get into. In an effort to preserve my sanity after the fairly debilitating Val Kilmer month, I'm doing a bunch of triple features that are really just a whole lot of fun, movies I enjoy. And we're going to start everything out. That's right, Lucius. Nothing but fun. We're going to start things off right with anarchic, big budget sci-fi pictures. These are movies that have very distinct sci-fi bent, big special effects, but are kind of insane in either presentation or content. And our menu is going to include Johnny Mnemonic, Push, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy film. Now, Johnny Mnemonic is basically Shadowrun, the role-playing game, if you turned it into a sci-fi action thriller starring perennial favorite Keanu Reeves. And Keanu stars as the titular Johnny, who is a mnemonic courier, which does not have a U in it anywhere, so, Google will reject any search if you try to search that with a U. Johnny's a mnemonic courier who has traded his past for storage capacity in his brain, and through not necessarily random events, but curious events, ends up with the cure for a debilitating disease, du jour. And then he has to get it to the people that need it and or decide whether or not he values money or, being a nice guy. It's a bit of a tough call. I really like just think about the premise of this. Everybody and their brother is hunting down Keanu Reeves because of his brain. When does this ever happen? Because even in Chain Reaction, they weren't hunting him down for necessarily the secret of the cold fusion. It was because he was framed for setting off a giant explosion. But there's a lot of weirdness. It's very 90s, special effects wise and casting wise. Henry Rollins pops up. Dolph Lundgren plays a bounty hunting street preacher he nearly steals the whole movie. Dina Meyer's in there, Udo Kier, and then you have some really great Japanese guest appearances, most notably Takeshi Kitano, aka Beat Takeshi, of Sonatine, Violent Cop, and Zatoichi fame. And also, just for shits and giggles, Ice-T's in there. If you recall, I think last year we had the Ice-T, What Are You Doing in This Sci-Fi Movie? This is one of those, Johnny Mnemonic. And the soundtrack's great. It's just a very satisfying movie. And the anarchic element really comes in with the whole sticking the finger to the man. This is a very cyberpunk film, anti-corporation, and, anti-Newark, New Jersey, if we're being completely honest. But it's a very, very good time, and you should check that one out. Push, not the book by Precious, is about a bunch of people who have superpowers through government projects gone hourly and are all hiding out in Shanghai. Kind of think Casablanca, but with superpowers. And instead of Humphrey Bogart, we have Chris Evans in his third superpowered incarnation. Prior to this, he had played Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, in Fantastic Four, and Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer. This was, of course, one of the many comic book-esque roles that was on the path of him becoming, Captain America Steve Rogers, and we were all happy for that. In this one, he plays the low-level telekinetic who has to save his ex-girlfriend who has the secret of amplifying powers, which all the nefarious government people want, but would give them too much power. And once again, we have a very anti-government theme. Everybody is pretty much on the run from some form of government or corporation, and we have special effects. I say big budget. It has a very... It looks like money was put into it, even though the style of it is very guerrilla filming. A lot of the camera angles will be, like, cameras will be hidden in places, and they'll just record it off that. There's actually a pretty good story of Camilla Bell, who plays Chris Evans' romantic interest. She, at one point in the movie, she gets scooped up into a van and hauled off by the evil corporation people. The way it was filmed, there were no camera crew visible. The camera was hidden in the surrounding environment, and so to the random passersby, it just looked like this girl got kidnapped, and nobody did anything. It's great because it has an awful lot of superpowers, but they were very clever in that most of them you didn't really need. They were visual, but not special effects heavy until you get into the later portions of the film when Chris Evans gets better with his telekinesis and fights the other telekinetic Victor, who the actor name escapes me, though he is an ex-boxer and had a fairly memorable part in Quantum of Solace. He's the guy that James Bond fights to the death when he gets to the Caribbean. I don't think you really see his face in that one. You see a lot of his face in this one, and he's very, very pretty, very, very telekinetic, and very, very evil. Also, great bits are Djimon Hounsou. I mean, Djimon Hounsou is quickly becoming one of those guys that I could watch him or listen to him read the phone book. I just love his voice, and watching him as the man. Watch the telekinetic standoff scene in the Chinese restaurant. He just owns it, even though most of the focus is on Chris Evans and Victor doing like their telekinetic gag. Djimon Hounsou, he's just eating his noodles, pretty confident, and he's the man. Who else is in it? Clifton Curtis. Cliff Collins. Cliff Collins? No, Cliff Curtis. Who was also in Sunshine with Chris Evans and Training Day. Just the guy's a chameleon, and this is one of the few movies where he actually speaks with his natural New Zealand accent, and it's quite lovely. And Ching-Mei Chen? No, that was the character she played on ER. Ming Na plays a psychic, fortune-telling psychic. But the best little, side character is, of course, Dakota Fanning as the every so often inebriate future reader. I don't know how many of you... I think a bunch of you guys like comic books. If you read X Factor by Marvel Comics, things Layla Miller in an actual movie played by Dakota Fanning. It's really something, and an awful lot of fun. Finally, we have the big budget film version of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And if you're on Tumblr, you love Sherlock, and if you love Sherlock, you love Martin Freeman, and if you like Martin Freeman, rent this movie. Why have you not seen it yet? He plays Arthur Dent in the adaptation of the classic Douglas Adams novel. And much like the novel, the film thumbs its nose at every film convention and story structure convention known to man. The movie opens with a song and dance number with dolphins, a chorus line of dolphins singing to the earth as they leave because they know it's going to explode. Once again, very anti-government vibe, specifically bureaucrats, all the Vogon bureaucratic nonsense that is just awful and ends up destroying the world. there isn't, there's conflict, but it's kind of much like the novel. It isn't really resolved by the actions of the hero, nor is it resolved as one of my friends likes to think through love. It is resolved through soul-crushing depression aimed as a gun through Marvin, the paranoid android. Marvin is a really great feat of acting because the guy in the suit is Warwick Davis, Wicket, and Willow that we saw last month, and is voiced by Alan Rickman, and the combination is pretty hilarious. Also great is, of course, Mos Def playing the weirdest alien this side of Matt Smith's version of Doctor Who. Though he gets a run for his money by Sam Rockwell playing all manner of craziness as the two-headed Zaphod Beeblebrox. And just rounding everything out is a quite lovely Zoe Deschanel before, she realized she was Zoe Deschanel. And also, just for shits and giggles, is John Malkovich playing an intergalactic cult leader called Homa Kavula. The world is run by mice. The answer to the great question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. This is a movie. This was a movie that had a lot of money put into it, and for some reason, the majority of American audiences didn't dig it, and this is foolish. So rent all of these anti-authoritarian films with space and or lasers and or dystopian futures and or superpowers. Johnny Mnemonic, Push, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They're out of chronological order, but this is only because nothing beats The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie for action, fun, comedy, and pretty people. Well, actually, that's not true. Push has an awful lot of pretty people. Well, I'll leave it to you. Why don't you guys watch these movies and let me know who has the hotter cast, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Push? All right, you have your homework. I will see you next week.